It was a bright and sunny afternoon, and the streets near the local middle school were filled with the sounds of children laughing, bikes clattering, and parents calling out goodbyes. The day had been ordinary until the final bell rang, and students poured out of the classrooms eager to get home and tell their families about the day's events. Among them was a young girl, perhaps 12 years old, carrying a slightly worn backpack over her shoulders. Her books and notebooks were tucked inside, some edges sticking out as if they had been thrown together in a hurry. She held a small notebook tightly in her hand, and every step she took echoed the excitement she felt to be home, eager to share the science project she had just completed with her little brother. As she walked along the sidewalk, she smiled at a few familiar faces, nodding politely at neighbors who waved. The streets were busy, with cars slowly inching along as parents picked up their children. Birds chirped in the nearby trees, and the smell of freshly cut grass lingered in the warm air. It was a day that seemed ordinary in every way, but for the girl, the peacefulness was about to change. Out of nowhere, the roar of motorcycles filled the air. A group of bikers appeared down the street, their engines loud and commanding attention. The girl froze for a moment, startled by the sudden noise. She could see a few of them laughing and talking among themselves, clearly enjoying their own presence on the road. Most of them paid no attention to the pedestrians, but one biker seemed different. He slowed his bike, his eyes fixed on the young girl. There was something in his posture, a sense of mischief and arrogance that made her stomach twist with unease. The girl tried to ignore him at first, hoping he would ride past without incident, but he didn't. He circled back, making rude gestures and shouting words she didn't fully understand. Her cheeks flushed, not with the sun, but with embarrassment and fear. She could hear the whispers of other students nearby, unsure of what to do, some curious, others too afraid to intervene. Her feet felt heavier with every step, and her hands clenched her notebook tighter as if it could protect her. The biker continued, laughing in a way that made the girl's heart pound faster. She wanted to run to escape, but the sidewalk was narrow and the group of bikers blocked most of the space. She felt trapped, unsure of how to get out of the situation safely. The other students began to scatter, some running to the school gates, others hiding behind parked cars, all equally shocked and anxious. It seemed as if time had slowed, each second stretching longer as the girl faced humiliation she hadn't asked for. In the midst of this chaos, a familiar figure appeared across the street. Cena was nearby, working on a charity project that involved visiting local schools, when he noticed the commotion. His attention was immediately drawn to the girl, standing small and frightened in front of the biker. He could see the fear on her face, the way she clutched her notebook and backpack, her entire body tense. Cena's instincts kicked in without hesitation. He jogged toward the scene, each step purposeful and steady, his presence already beginning to command attention. The biker noticed Cena approaching and initially laughed, thinking this would be an entertaining showdown. He waved his hand, teasing, expecting Cena to back away or ignore him. But Cena didn't falter. He slowed his pace only slightly to assess the situation, making sure to keep a safe distance while positioning himself between the girl and the biker. The girl's eyes widened in disbelief. She had seen Cena on television, in movies and wrestling matches, but never in real life, and certainly never coming to protect her in this moment. Cena spoke in a firm but calm voice, telling the biker to stop and back away. His tone carried authority, yet it was gentle enough not to escalate the situation unnecessarily. The girl took a small step back, relieved to see someone standing up for her. The biker's laughter faltered as he realized this was not going to be an easy confrontation. His confidence, once so solid, began to waver under Cena's calm gaze. Other bikers in the group slowed down as well, sensing the change in energy. What had started as a reckless display of power and bravado was now met with the quiet strength of someone who clearly cared more about the girl's safety than a public display of toughness. The biker tried to brush it off, making a joke, but Cena's presence left no room for mischief. He calmly explained that humiliating someone, especially a child, was not only cruel but unacceptable. The biker shifted uneasily, caught between saving face and realizing that he had gone too far. The girl, though still scared, felt a sense of hope rise within her. She could barely speak, her throat tight with emotion, but she managed a small nod, grateful for the intervention. A teacher from the nearby school, who had been watching from a distance, rushed over as well. They expressed gratitude to Cena for stepping in and making sure the girl was safe. The teacher offered words of reassurance, and the girl slowly began to relax, knowing that she was no longer alone in facing this uncomfortable and frightening situation. Cena didn't step away immediately. He remained vigilant, observing the biker's movements and ensuring that the girl had space to feel secure. The biker, sensing that the situation had escalated beyond a simple prank or act of intimidation, muttered a few words under his breath, unsure of how to proceed. Cena's presence had transformed the dynamic entirely. What could have been a distressing and humiliating moment for the young girl had become a lesson in courage and protection. The air around them seemed to hold a quiet tension. A contrast to the biker stood there for a moment, unsure what to do next. He had not expected someone to intervene, let alone someone with the calm but firm presence of John Cena. His group of friends on motorcycles watched, a mixture of curiosity and unease on their faces. They had been riding carelessly, thinking the day would end with laughter and attention, but this confrontation had shifted the mood entirely. The biker's laugh faltered, his bravado slipping as he realized Cena was serious, and not the type to be intimidated or distracted by jokes. The young girl, standing just a few feet away, still clutched her notebook and backpack. Her small hands trembled slightly, not only from fear but from the shock of the sudden turn of events. She could not believe what was happening. Someone she had seen on TV was now speaking directly to a biker, stopping him from humiliating her, keeping her safe. She had never felt this combination of relief and disbelief. And yet in that moment she realized she wasn't alone. Cena, keeping his voice calm but authoritative, asked the biker to step aside and explained that what he had done was wrong. He did not yell or threaten. Instead, he used words that carried weight because they were grounded in truth. He spoke about responsibility, about respecting others, and about understanding that actions have consequences. The biker's posture shifted as Cena spoke, and for a moment it seemed as if he was truly listening. His friends on motorcycles watched quietly, sensing that this was no ordinary conversation, and that there was something powerful in the way Cena addressed the situation. The girl felt a small spark of courage within her. She wanted to step forward and say something, but her fear still held her back. Instead, she stayed close to Cena, feeling safer just being in his presence. She noticed the biker's eyes flicker with uncertainty, a sign that the intervention was working. Cena continued, speaking to the biker not in anger but with a sense of moral clarity that made the biker uneasy. He asked questions that forced the biker to think. Why target a child? Why make someone feel small? What did he hope to gain? The biker opened his mouth to respond but quickly realized that there was no easy answer. His usual confidence was gone, replaced with a growing sense of discomfort. Nearby, a few students who had hidden behind trees and cars were watching silently. They could see that this was more than a confrontation. It was a lesson in courage and empathy. One of the teachers from the school apron ached cautiously, having witnessed the situation from a distance. The teacher thanked Cena for stepping in and reassured the girl that everything would be okay. The girl's hands relaxed slightly on her backpack, and she allowed herself to breathe more freely. She could still feel her heartbeat racing, but the immediate danger had lessened. Cena's presence and words had changed the dynamic completely. The biker tried to laugh, attempting to regain some control, but it sounded forced and hollow. He shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between Cena, the girl, and his friends. The lesson was sinking in, and the realization that his actions were not impressive but wrong began to take hold. Cena kept his focus on him, ensuring that he understood the gravity of the situation without humiliating him in return. The girl, watching the exchange, felt a sense of empowerment. Even though she had been the target, she could see that standing up, or having someone stand up for her, made a real difference. Cena then turned his attention to the girl, kneeling slightly so he could speak to her at eye level without making her feel smaller. He asked her how she was feeling and whether she had been scared. Her voice came out as a whisper at first, but she shared that she had been very frightened and had felt embarrassed in front of the other students. Cena nodded, acknowledging her feelings, and told her that it was perfectly normal to feel that way. He explained that the fear and embarrassment were not her fault, and that she had done nothing wrong. Hearing this from someone she admired gave her courage and reassurance. As the biker stood there unsure of how to proceed, Cena calmly guided the girl away from the immediate area. He made sure to keep her between him and the biker, giving her a sense of protection without making it feel like a spectacle. Each step she took with Cena beside her restored some of her confidence. She realized that having someone stand up for her did not make her weak. It made her feel supported and safe. The bikers began to disperse slowly, sensing that the confrontation was over, and that continuing their actions would only reflect poorly on them. The teacher walked alongside Cena and the girl, grateful that everything had been handled without further escalation. She praised Cena for his quick thinking and for using words and presence rather than force to resolve the situation. The girl smiled faintly at the teacher, feeling proud that she had remained composed, even if only a little, and grateful for the support that had appeared when she needed it most. Other students who had witnessed the incident began to whisper among themselves, discussing what had just happened. They realized that courage came in many forms, standing up, asking for help, and using one's voice for good. The girl felt inspired, knowing that someone would intervene if she was ever in danger, and understanding that even small acts of bravery could have a lasting impact. Cena's calm yet firm approach had left a mark not only on the girl but on everyone who had watched. The biker finally muttered a reluctant apology to the girl, his voice tinged with awkwardness. Cena did not push him further, knowing that forcing an apology would have less meaning than the RIA. The girl felt a mixture of relief and curiosity as she walked beside John Cena. Her heart was still racing from the confrontation, but with him nearby it felt steadier. She had always admired him from afar, seen him on television and in movies, but now she understood that the real strength he carried was more than physical. It was the courage to protect someone else, to act when it mattered. She looked up at him and asked softly if the biker would come back. Cena shook his head gently, assuring her that the bikers would likely leave now that the lesson had been delivered, and the crowd had seen that their behavior was unacceptable. As they walked toward the school grounds, Cena continued to speak to the girl, sharing small but meaningful advice. He explained that fear is a natural response but should not be allowed to paralyze her. He told her that bravery does not always mean fighting back physically. It often means standing tall, seeking help, and trusting in those who care. The girl listened intently, soaking up each word. She realized that courage could be quiet and steady, not just loud and visible. She had witnessed that firsthand, and it left a lasting impression on her. Meanwhile, the biker had paused down the street, leaning against his motorcycle and staring at the ground. He seemed smaller somehow, as if Cena's calm authority had shifted his entire perspective. He muttered under his breath, thinking about how easily the situation had been controlled without anyone raising their voice or resorting to aggression. His friends, sensing the same unease, waited silently, unsure of what to do. The biker's embarrassment and sudden awareness made him realize that his attempt to intimidate the young girl had failed, and more importantly, it had been wrong. He felt an unfamiliar weight on his shoulders, a sense of responsibility for his actions that he had not felt before. Back on the school grounds, the girl noticed that other students who had witnessed the encounter were now whispering among themselves. She could hear fragments of their conversations about what had just happened, about courage and about the kindness shown by Cena. She felt proud but also humbled, understanding that real strength was not about showing off or asserting dominance. She had learned that standing up for oneself, asking for help, and allowing someone to intervene when necessary could have a greater impact than bravado. Cena continued walking with her, sharing stories of his experiences not in a boastful way but as lessons. He spoke about times when he had witnessed others being bullied or mistreated, and how stepping in, even in small ways, had made a difference. He emphasized that it was not about being famous or strong, but about noticing when someone needed support and acting. The girl felt inspired, realizing that anyone could make a positive difference in someone's life, no matter how small their actions seemed. The teacher who had arrived earlier followed them closely, nodding and listening as Cena spoke to the girl. She was impressed by the gentle way he communicated, how he balanced authority with kindness. It was clear that his words were not just meant to reassure the girl, but to teach her how to carry herself in the future. The teacher felt a renewed sense of hope for her students, understanding that moments like these could shape their understanding of bravery and compassion for years to come. As they approached a safer area near the school gate, Cena took a moment to ensure the girl's comfort. He asked her if she felt ready to continue on her own, or if she preferred someone to accompany her further. The girl, gaining confidence from the previous guidance, said she was ready to walk the last stretch, but she appreciated his presence and support. Cena smiled, encouraging her independence while letting her know that help was always available if needed. It was a delicate balance of empowering her while ensuring her safety. The girl noticed that the surrounding area was quieter now, with the bikers having moved on. She could hear birds chirping again, and the distant hum of traffic seemed less intimidating. She felt a sense of normalcy returning, yet the memory of the incident remained sharp in her mind. She understood that fear could be real and overwhelming, but it could also be managed with courage and support. Cena's intervention had not only protected her, but had given her a model of how to handle similar situations in the future. The biker, meanwhile, had started his bike and was slowly riding away with his friends. The laughter and loud noises that had dominated the street earlier were gone, replaced with a quiet reflection. He thought about the way Cena had handled the situation, calm, firm, and unwavering. He realized that true strength lay in controlling oneself and standing up for what was right, rather than seeking attention or attempting to humiliate others. The lesson, though indirect, had reached him, leaving a lingering awareness of how his actions had affected someone vulnerable. Back at the school gate, the girl turned to Cena, feeling a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. She asked him how he knew what to do in such situations. Cena explained that it came from paying attention, understanding the feelings of others, and having the courage to act without hesitation. He said that every person has the ability to make a positive impact, even if it is just by being present and supportive. The girl nodded, feeling empowered by his words. She realized that courage could be taught and shared, and that witnessing someone act bravely could inspire. The girl walked slowly, thinking about the events that had unfolded earlier in the afternoon. Her hand still clutched her notebook, though now it felt lighter in her grasp. The fear she had experienced seemed far away, replaced by a sense of calm and reflection. She realized that although she had been scared, she had also witnessed something extraordinary. John Cena had stepped in to protect her, but more than that, he had taught her a quiet lesson about courage, responsibility, and kindness. As they continued along the sidewalk toward the safer part of the school grounds, Cena began to speak about situations like the one they had just faced. He explained that fear is normal, and it is natural to feel threatened or embarrassed when someone tries to humiliate you. The key, he said, is to recognize the feeling, but not let it control your actions. Courage comes from acting despite fear, and from knowing when to seek help. The girl listened carefully, her all eyes fixed on him, absorbing every word. She felt that his advice was not just about this moment, but about the many challenges she might face in life. They walked past other students who were leaving the school, some of whom had witnessed the biker earlier. A few of them whispered among themselves, pointing discreetly toward the girl and Cena. Some nodded in approval, recognizing the bravery of both the girl and the man who had intervened. The girl felt a swell of pride, realizing that her experience had also become a quiet lesson for others. She understood that standing up for yourself and accepting help when needed could have an impact beyond your own immediate situation. Cena slowed his pace as they approached a bench near the school gate. He knelt slightly to be at eye level with the girl. He asked her how she was feeling now and if she had any lingering worries. She admitted that she still felt a little shaken, but that his presence had given her a sense of safety she had not expected. Cena nodded and reassured her that it was okay to feel that way, and that acknowledging her emotions was part of being strong. The girl's shoulders relaxed slightly, and a faint smile appeared on her face, one that reflected relief and a growing confidence. Nearby, the teacher who had arrived earlier was speaking with other students, explaining the importance of standing up against bullying and intimidation. The teacher had watched how Cena had handled the situation and was impressed by his calm, measured approach. Rather than escalating the confrontation or using anger, he had relied on presence, words, and authority to create a safe environment. The teacher shared this with the students, highlighting that courage is not always about physical strength, but about knowing how to act and when to act. The girl looked around at the school grounds and noticed the other students going about their activities. She felt a renewed sense of belonging, understanding that even when challenges arise, support can be found in unexpected places. She thought about how frightened she had been just moments before, and how quickly the situation had changed. Cena's intervention had not only protected her, but it also helped her see a different way of responding to fear. Through calm, thoughtful action, and seeking help from others when necessary. As they continued walking, Cena spoke about the importance of empathy. He told the girl that understanding how others feel, even those who make mistakes or act wrongly, is part of growing as a person. He explained that the biker had acted out of poor judgment and possibly a desire to appear strong, but that recognizing his mistake and reflecting on it could lead to better choices in the future. The girl considered his words, realizing that empathy does not mean accepting bad behavior, but understanding it enough to learn and grow from it. The girl felt a sense of empowerment growing within her. She realized that she could now approach future challenges with a new perspective. She could speak up when she saw injustice, seek help when needed, and remain calm in the face of intimidation. Cena's presence had been more than physical protection. It had been a model of moral guidance, showing her that courage and kindness often go hand in hand. She felt grateful for the experience, even though it had started with fear. The teacher guided the girl to a more central area of the schoolyard where other students had gathered. Cena followed, speaking to the girl quietly, ensuring that she understood the importance of sharing her experience in a constructive way. He encouraged her to tell her peers what had happened, not to seek attention, but to help others understand how to respond to similar situations. The girl nodded, realizing that her story could help her friends and classmates learn valuable lessons about courage, empathy, and seeking support. The bikers had long since left, riding down the street, but their presence lingered in memory. The girl reflected on how quickly fear can arise and how important it is to have guidance and support. She thought about the lesson the biker had received, and while she did not feel any anger toward him, she understood that actions have consequences. Cena had handled the situation in a way that left an impression on everyone, including the girl, the teacher, and even the bystanders. It was a lesson in how one person can make a difference without escalating conflict or resorting to anger. Cena stayed with the girl for a few more minutes, talking about how to carry confidence and composure in everyday life. He emphasized that strength is often quiet and steady, not loud or showy. He reminded her that seeking help when necessary is not a weakness, but a sign of intelligence and self-awareness. The girl listened carefully, feeling that she had learned something that could stay with her forever. She understood that bravery could take many forms, and that the support of others can transform fear into empowerment. The teacher took the opportunity to speak to the gathered students about respect, kindness, and courage. She shared how witnessing someone act bravely like Cena could inspire others to do the same. The girl realized that the afternoon had become more than just a personal experience. It had become a small lesson for the entire school. Students who had observed the events would carry the memory with them, learning the value of stepping up for others and showing kindness in difficult situations. As the sun continued to lower in the sky, casting soft shadows across the school grounds, the girl felt a sense of closure. She had faced fear, witnessed courage, and experienced support in a way she would not forget. Cena finally prepared to leave, offering the girl a small encouraging smile and a few last words about continuing to be brave and compassionate. The girl waved, feeling a warmth in her chest that mixed gratitude, relief, and inspiration. The teacher thanked Cena once more, appreciating his calm guidance and the positive example he had set. She reflected on how rare it is to witness such immediate and meaningful action that combines safety, education, and empathy. The girl felt a sense of pride and accomplishment, knowing that she had not only been protected but had also learned something valuable about herself and about human courage. She understood that even in frightening moments, people willing to act with integrity can make a lasting difference. The girl adjusted her backpack and started walking toward her home, feeling more confident with each step. She knew that life could be unpredictable and that challenges would come, but she also knew that she could carry lessons from this day into the future. She could face fear, seek guidance, and act with kindness and courage. The memory of Cena's calm presence, the teacher's encouragement, and the understanding of empathy and bravery would stay with her forever. She walked home with a lighter heart, a steadier pace, and a renewed sense of confidence, knowing that moments of fear could transform into moments of growth, understanding, and hope. Others to do the same. The teacher guided the girl to a bench where she could sit for a moment, catching her breath and calming her racing heart. Cena stayed nearby for a few more minutes, ensuring that everything had settled. He spoke to the teacher privately, offering suggestions for discussing the incident with the students in a way that would reinforce lessons of respect, empathy, and courage. The teacher appreciated his insight, recognizing the value of real-life examples in teaching these important life skills. As the girl sat quietly, she reflected on the events of the afternoon. She had been frightened, humiliated, and unsure of what to do, but she had also witnessed something remarkable: a person stepping in to protect her, showing courage and empathy. She realized that moments of fear could transform into lessons of strength, and that support from others could make all the difference. She felt a sense of confidence growing within her, a quiet assurance that she could face challenges with courage and seek help when needed. Cena finally prepared to leave, giving a small wave to the girl and the teacher. He reminded her that the lessons of the day were not just about avoiding harm, but about understanding the power of kindness and the responsibility to act when someone else needed help. The girl waved back, feeling a sense of connection and gratitude that would stay with her long after the incident. She understood that bravery was not about being invincible, but about making choices that protected herself and others. As Cena walked away, the girl noticed that the atmosphere around her felt lighter. Students were returning to their normal routines, parents were picking up children, and the day continued. Yet, she carried with her the impact of what had occurred, the realization that courage could appear in unexpected ways, and that even ordinary moments could hold extraordinary lessons. The incident had started as a frightening encounter, but it ended with understanding, growth, and a model of human decency that would shape her perspective for years to come. The girl stood up, adjusted her backpack, and began walking toward home, her steps steady and her heart lighter. She knew that life could be unpredictable, but she also knew that she had witnessed an example of how one person's courage and empathy could change the course of a frightening situation. The memory of Cena's calm presence and reassuring words would stay with her, guiding her decisions and giving her confidence in moments of uncertainty. She understood that true courage was quiet, steady, and compassionate, and she carried that knowledge with pride as she continued on her way home. Realization the biker had already experienced. The girl accepted the apology quietly, not because she felt she needed it, but because it reflected the growth she could see in him. She had witnessed firsthand that actions have consequences, and that being brave does not always require physical strength. It requires standing for what is right. Cena spent a few more moments ensuring the girl felt safe. He gave her advice on handling similar situations in the future, explaining that courage and awareness could protect her without putting herself at risk. He emphasized the importance of speaking up, seeking help, and recognizing the difference between harmless mischief and harmful intimidation. The girl listened attentively, taking in each word and storing it in her memory as a guide for times when she might need it again. As the group of bikers rode away slowly, Cena stayed with the girl until she reached a safe place near the school gate. He made sure the teacher and other staff were present before he finally nodded and began to step back. The girl felt a deep sense of gratitude, realizing that someone had cared enough to intervene in her moment of fear. Her heart was still beating fast, but the panic had subsided, replaced by a warm feeling of safety and hope. The teacher thanked Cena once again, explaining that his actions had not only protected the girl, but had taught an important lesson to everyone present. Students who had seen the incident unfold quietly reflected on what had happened, learning that kindness, courage, and intervention could have a powerful effect. The girl, carrying her backpack and notebook, began to walk home with a newfound sense of confidence. She knew that even when faced with fear or humiliation, there was always the possibility of support and courage from unexpected places. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the street, the girl felt a sense of calm wash over her. The incident had started as a frightening and overwhelming experience, but it had ended with understanding, safety, and a lesson in human decency. Cena continued on his way to his next engagement, leaving behind a ripple of courage and compassion that would stay with the girl and the witnesses for a long time. She realized that strength was not always about being loud or intimidating. It was about protecting, supporting, and standing up for what was right, and that realization stayed with her as she continued her walk home, her heart lighter and her spirit braver than before. Earlier noise and chaos. Birds continued to chirp in the nearby trees and the sun shone warmly, yet everything seemed to slow down in the small area where the girl, Cena, and the biker stood. Witnesses, including parents and other students, began to take notice, understanding that something important was happening. It wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about standing up for someone who needed help. Finally, the biker stepped back, realizing that there was no benefit in continuing his behavior. Cena maintained his calm posture, ready to intervene further if needed. But his firm stance and words had already conveyed the message. The girl took a deep breath, the tension slowly leaving her body. She looked up at Cena, her eyes wide, filled with gratitude and relief. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, she smiled, a small but genuine expression of reassurance that someone was there for her. The crowd began to disperse naturally, with parents collecting their children and students walking away, buzzing quietly about what had just happened. The girl, still clutching her notebook, felt a warmth in her chest. She realized that courage could appear in unexpected places and kindness could come from those who didn't even know her. Cena stayed for a moment longer, making sure that the girl was fully safe before he finally nodded and began to walk away, returning to his charity work but leaving a lasting impression on the young girl. The biker, now left alone, glanced around at the gathering witnesses, his earlier bravado replaced with an uneasy awareness. The moment had been a turning point, a realization that actions have consequences and that intimidation and humiliation are never signs of strength. The girl, feeling lighter, continued her walk home, her steps steadier, her heart calmer. She knew that even in moments of fear, help could appear when least expected, and that courage sometimes comes from those who step forward to protect others without hesitation.